We all know them. This old Tony's Colchester, A-bomb's pacemaker. So introducing the Chang Chung Hudson. Oh, never mind. 3.5 tons of cast iron goodness. This lathe and I have a long and complex relationship. Knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have bought this machine, but nonetheless, here it is. Most of the drama for me was actually inside this gearbox. When I bought it, the guy clearly stated that none of the power feeds worked and that he wasn't sure what it was, but it was probably a simple fix, but he couldn't be bothered. Sure, something had happened to the machine. It was probably a tapered pin had fallen out, or who knows what. It'll be fine. Cracked this thing open and it was a train wreck. There were gears that were mushed nearly beyond recognition. Thankfully, I was able to count the teeth and get a rough measurement, and well, I had a crash course in gear cutting, which was actually really good. I drew a lot of inspiration and help from Mr. Pete and this old Tony in their gear cutting series, and basically between them and Google, I was able to rebuild the gearbox, cut new gears, and get this thing operational. But the real reason I brought you here today was not to whinge about this machine, but rather to fix one of the problems that I have with it, and that is I have no fixed steady. I've got some pretty decent turning work coming up. I'll be making some stainless steel rollers for a conveyor, and it's going to require a fixed steady. I don't really have the right material. We're going to just have to jimmy rig something up, and hopefully, not hopefully, it needs to, it jolly well needs to work. This bar stock is 20 by 25 millimeters in size, and once it's all welded together, it should make a fairly solid base. After a quick cleanup with the grinder and letting it cool off, it's time to square it up. I was shooting for flatness over surface finish. At least that's what I keep telling myself. I have trust issues. I know for a fact that this won't be 100% parallel just because of the wear in the machine and whatnot. So the aluminium filler wire is just it's a soft squishy substance that will crush and deform and hopefully give me really good purchase. Probably completely unnecessary, but like I say, I have trust issues. The features on this part were fairly critical, and though I was going to do all the measurements on the milling machine, I just wanted some witness marks to help keep me honest. Ooh. Terrible chips, but I mean, damn, that finish. That'll do, pig. That'll do. I was sort of torn between putting a roller bearing in the end, which I have, or building the end up with some silicon bronze. In the end, I've decided to go with silicon bronze because it's quicker. I have really limited time. I've got people waiting on me to get on with jobs, and this is really was supposed to be a fill-in job that I quickly got done, and it's blown into much more than that, but you know, that's life. But just quickly, silicon bronze is a pretty magical stuff. It's not very cheap, but it's got some really cool properties. One is that it's technically not welding, it's brazing. So you're melting the filler wire, but not melting the parent metal. Well, you kind of don't melt it. The other thing is it's good for welding dissimilar metals. So I've welded copper to stainless steel with this stuff. Sorry, brazed. I've done cast iron repairs with this stuff. I've rebuilt shafts that were sort of worn out with this, and this has proven itself to be pretty hard wearing. It's probably not as good as proper, you know, bearing bronze material, but there is bronze in the name, so you know. I'm running 80 amps on straight DC on the old Razor, and let's see how it works. It may need a little bit more, probably not any less. Between the three of them, that's all that's left of a full rod of silicon bronze, so hopefully that's enough. It's grown by about 10 mil. Oh dang, that'll do me. Using the wobbler on the edge of the precision ground V-block was almost cheating in regards to finding the center. I think I'll be using this technique as often as I can in the future. The final step to finish off this part was to mill a slot for the locking screw to seat in. I needed a way to guarantee that all the parts would be in their correct orientation and spacing, so I 3D printed this jig. I have been more often using the 3D printer for this purpose. It's really great to be able to just extrude something in Fusion 360 and go and print it. You know that it's going to be dimensionally accurate, as good as the printer can do it anyway, and for this job it was perfect, providing you only tack the parts and not get crazy with the heat. Boom. Oh, just reached. Wow. That looks good. I mean, it's not going to rock because there's 3 of them, but yeah. Now, I'll be looking for the straightness. Oh, looks brilliant. Looks really good. The obvious thing to do was to hold the part in the 3-jaw chuck and just put everything together and start tacking. The final step for the build was to tack some washers on top of the adjustment bolts to hold them in position. I used a small shim just to give them a little bit of clearance, and the washers didn't even need to be that strong because the locking bolts were really the thing that was going to give this its strength. All the nut needed to do was give me a fine adjustment, if you like. It's hot. Are you inspecting the lathe, huh? Are you hungry? You're worse than a cat. You don't like being pat. You really don't. Hey, I'm trying to do some stuff, and you probably should be in bed. It's dark out. I was actually nervous that all of welding would have distorted the base plate. Yes. The timing was perfect. Just as I'd finished the build, the material turned up for the rolls. This is a 304 stainless steel, and it's a beggar to turn. Without this steady, I would not have been able to machine this part, and it just felt really good to be using the full capacity of this machine. I've really grown fond of this old lathe, and despite the wear and tear, it still has a lot of good years left in it. We made it. Oh, this part is done, and it's a huge relief. I've got one more to do, but I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the finished part, or almost finished. It needs an 8mm slot in this for some key steel, but apart from that, the turning is done.